Good morning. Today is Monday, March 18th, 2024. One of my earliest childhood memories, which is still vivid in my mind, is my mother taking me to get the polio vaccine. It was in the gymnasium of a public school in Memphis, where I was born and raised. I still remember where that school is. There were what seemed like thousands of children with a parent in a long line that snaked and circled around the gym numerous times. The vaccine was a colored dot on a sugar cube. And so I waited in line for what seemed like hours till I got mine, and I popped it in my mouth, and that was the end of that experience. But what I remember very clearly is in the center of the room was a small table with a doctor sitting there alone, and on the table was an enormous hypodermic needle. I mean, it looked like the kind of thing that you would use to give a shot to an elephant. And the doctor had somewhat of a menacing look about him. And the message was clear to everyone, especially the children, that if for any reason you refused the sugar cube, that lethal-looking syringe was your only option. I don't think anyone approached that table. I was born in 1958, so outside of that vaccine experience, I don't remember knowing anyone with polio or even having that disease feared or even discussed in my family. But I was remembering all of this when I read that Paul Alexander died last Wednesday at the age of 78. Paul was 6 years old when he contracted polio. He was fully paralyzed. He was close to dying several times as a child. And he spent the rest of his life, 72 years, in an iron lung machine, without which he would not survive. And Paul Alexander is one of the last remaining people in the United States who was living inside an iron lung. But the toll of living like this inside an iron lung, unable to move, did not stop Mr. Alexander from going to college, getting a law degree, practicing law for more than 30 years. Now, as a boy, he taught himself to breathe for short amounts of time so that he could, for short amounts of time, be taken out of the machine. But he had to use that machine every day of his life. Now, in the final weeks of his life, in January of this year, he launched a TikTok account. And he drew quite a following. He had 330,000 followers over the last couple of months on TikTok. And he made videos sharing what it's been like to live so long with the help of this antiquated machine. He made videos about his life. Some of them were about broader issues, like how he was able to practice law from an iron lung for 30 years. And he also took questions from the audience about more mundane subjects. You could imagine the physical workings of how things worked out. I share this with you for two very inspiring lessons that I learned from the life of Paul Alexander. The first is, before his death, in a video posted on TikTok on January 31st, Alexander said that he had been surprised and moved by the response to his videos. He said, "It makes me feel like there's somebody that really cares about me. I wish I could hug every one of you." And it is incredible to remember the power we have to help someone just by caring, even if it's in a very slight way, and how transforming it is to have someone care about you. It can literally make the unbearable bearable. And so Paul Alexander inspires me to work harder to try to show that caring and also to appreciate it when I receive it in obviously much less dramatic circumstances. But here's the second lesson, and it's really incredible. In one video, Alexander detailed the emotional and mental challenges of living inside an iron lung. And let me just say, I cannot begin to imagine what that life is like. And he tried to share with others what it's like. And he said, it's lonely. Sometimes it's desperate because I can't touch someone. My hands don't move. And no one touches me except on rare occasions, which I cherish. So first, just to appreciate gentle, appropriate touch. Human beings are made to give and to receive gentle, appropriate touch. And to have to live without that, I can't imagine it. But Paul Alexander lived it. And then he said something else. He said over the years, he had received emails and letters from people who were struggling with anxiety and depression, and they asked him for advice, and he offered advice. Now again, understand from whom this is coming. And here's the advice that he offered. He said, life is such an extraordinary thing. Just hold on. It's going to get better. Wow. Thank you, Paul Alexander. I don't think anyone in the world could share that message with the same power and impact as you. So, let's try to pay tribute to Paul Alexander's life. And let's try to remember, whatever you are going through, whatever I am going through, just hold on. Life is extraordinary, and it is going to get better. Paul Alexander, rest in peace. My friends, I wish you a great day, and I look forward to seeing you soon in person.